Okay, let's start then. Greetings from Kiev and Ukraine, everyone. Welcome to PIARC online seminar on winter road maintenance. On behalf of the State Road Agency of Ukraine, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to a second day of this three-day online event dedicated to technologies, materials, problems, and solutions associated with winter road maintenance. My name is Marko. I will be moderating the discussion today. We've had an engaging session yesterday with speakers from the Ukrainian government and its agencies. Also had a number of PIARC speakers, which provided an overview on various maintenance components and materials. We thank all the participants and all the speakers for their interest and for their efforts. I hope that you've been able to get some basic understanding of the situation on the ground here in Ukraine as well. Let us move on. The agenda for today is as follows. We have two main topics for discussion, which will roughly divide our session in two parts. The first part will deal with various winter maintenance technologies and associated practices. The second part of the discussion will be about Oprc type contracts and the benefits that they bring to the road maintenance. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to pass the microphone to Peter Nutz, who is our first speaker today. Peter, if you would like to start, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah. So hello again. I moderated yesterday and I'm back here. So I'm glad to show you a short overview of a project we did the last 2 years on an alternative liquid spreading agent. So let me just share your screen. I hope you can see the screen now in full size.
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
Thanks. So we had this question yesterday: is there an alternative to sodium chloride? And the clear answer is no. But we haven't been looking for this. We have been looking for other, especially liquid spreading agents, because as we talked yesterday, it's liquid pre-wetted salt, and liquid spreading has a lot of favors. So we are looking for some liquid spreading agent we can use where we can't use salt. It's there in some areas, but that's what I'm talking about in the next 15 minutes. So let's start. So sodium chloride still is the main DE-ICER we use, but there are several roads that need an alternative. We used, or up until now, we still use potassium carbonate in dry form. And this is very impractical in some cases. So you can't store it over summer. It's quite expensive and it doesn't fully meet the environmental expectations. So what we were looking for is, this is one of the new spreaders you can see here with the liquid brine sprayer, and we were looking for something we can use with this sprayer. So it has to be liquid, and as we were going from solid to liquid, we were looking for alternatives. So we asked Vienna University of Technology to cooperate with us, and they did this in sort of a diploma thesis, and the project's goal were to find an alternative to potassium carbonate, to analyze the market and examine suitability, and to check the effectiveness of the product independently. Because often you get products with big claims by the producer, but in the end, they can't meet these expectations. It hasn't been the goal to replace salt or brine, because we knew this won't gonna happen. We don't. If we find something, okay, but we already knew we probably won't find anything alternative, and that's been true. So what's been tested in the laboratory was thawing performance. So we selected different spreading agents, and the first step of this project was to look at the market, what's up there on the market, what can you use, And then peak, it's been around 20 to 25 products. And then we said, okay, let's pick some of them and do further testing with these selected products. We didn't start on the road directly, but we said, okay, before we put it to the road, let's try it in laboratory or field tests on a closed circuit, because we don't want to put anything on the road that's maybe dangerous or that doesn't work. So first part was laboratory tests, and it's been tested. The freezing point has been tested, and how much ice can be formed with this spreading. So, and how fast is the thawing reaction? What you can see on the right side is a small climate chamber or a big fridge. You can see these two rubber straps where you can put your hands through and work inside this climate chamber. So it's been tested. The spreading agents, they've been put onto ice. You can see it in the picture on the bottom. It's been filled with water, so it's been ice, and then the spreading agent has been put onto the ice, and it's measured how much ice this agent can fall by with various temperatures. So this is a graph showing the thawing performance at minus 2.5 degrees Celsius for 6 different spreading agents. So you see the red one is sodium chloride at 22%. So it's a highly concentrated solution of sodium chloride, and it sits here at the bottom. So all the others are better than sodium chloride brine. So they work in laboratory. You see this because it's two products, and I don't want to have the product's name in here. So it's de-icing agent 1 and de-icing agent 2. And before this question pop-ups, I can tell you that de-icing agent 1, it's been based on potassium format, and de-icing agent 2 is calcium format and or potassium format, and a second ingredient they won't tell us about. And it's also in this light blue, it's potassium carbide or carbonate, but it's liquid in liquid form. And you can see it works better than salt, but it's more than double the concentration of it. And while we tested this, it's not really liquid, it's more of like a syrup. So it's very hard to get through the spraying nozzles. The other parts are this one here up on the top in pink. It's propylene glycol. It's just like alcohol, pure alcohol. And the yellow one is the anti-freezing fluid you can use on cars. So it's also based on alcohols. So what we found that both the two of these de-icing agents that came into mind, they are good. They are more than double than salt, so they work at thawing performance. The one graph showed only minus 2.5 degrees. It's a rather common temperature in Vienna for winter, but we tested it out down to minus 10 degrees Celsius. And you can see the lower the temperature gets, the less the difference between these two spreading agents becomes. So you can see after 2 minutes expiration, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, so it's starting to thaw most of it within the first hour. And obviously depending on temperature, but as you can see, within 13 minutes, the temperature does not, the difference is not so big. Afterwards, it becomes bigger, of course. So after 2 hours, with these two bars on the left, it's minus 2.5 degrees. So they are way bigger than the two on the right, which are minus 10 degrees. And the middle ones, these two are minus 5 degrees. So we know that it's working very good in the temperatures we have a lot. We also know that it works at very low temperatures, which can happen in Vienna. We might become minus 10, minus 12 degrees. So it might happen and it works there also. Not that good, but of course sodium chloride is also not that good at these low temperatures. So another thing we wanted to test before we spread it out on the road was the skid resistance or the friction of the road. So does the spreading of these de-icing agents have a negative effect on the skid resistance of the road? And this is a problem because we know that some from previous tests that there are de-icing agents that have problems because they cause slipperiness just by spreading them out. So this is some measuring device, the Vienna University of Technology, they have, and they tested it on a closed, it's not only a road, it's just a field of asphalt we have, and we tested it there. And these are the friction values we measured. Reference here in green, it's just the asphalt with just water. And when we tested sodium chloride, and then we tested the other ones, and you can see all the values are quite high. They are above 0.65, which is really good. Problematic friction starts at 0.38 and below. So we are more than double of the friction value that's negative. So we know it's working as a de-icing agent, it's thawing, and we know it's not causing problems with friction. What we started then is, or the final conclusion of the tests we had from laboratory was, okay, thawing performance is good, freezing point is good, friction is good, price, it's rather expensive for all the alternatives we could find. And for the environmental stuff, we couldn't test it because testing for environmental issues is rather hard. So we just get what we got from the producers, and there are some that were good or others that have no data. So we are not sure about all of this, but in the conclusion, we tried it out on the road and it worked last winter. So we had our first tests in real world, it worked there, but we still need further testing in real operations. We had some problems getting the de-icing agent in time last year due to a Corona lockdown, and they weren't allowed to travel into Austria. So this was a problem for us. We couldn't get enough material, but we sure hope that we will get enough chances in this winter to test it out on the road as well. So thank you for your attention, and I hope that I could show you how we try to find new alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for your contribution. Our next speaker is Julius Janeba, who will talk on spreaders. Julius, are you ready?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have a following presentation. It's more practical, I would say, and it concerns technique. Wait a moment, please. And here it is, I hope. Now I just need to make it for full screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Give me advice how to share it for the full screen.
Try F5, F5.
F5 doesn't work. I don't know why. Once more.
Try презентация. Презентация in menu.
Yeah.
FM.
I can now. Yes.
От зачатку.
So, it's okay now. I get something, especially from our country, it means from the Czech Republic, some information about new development of the spreading technique. I would say we all of us know what's our task, what's our goal. We could spend hours to talk about spreading technique worldwide. We know that we must make the roads as possible, and it's everywhere the same. I would just draw your attention to the technical report of our committee, PIARC committee, and you can see the content on the right side. It's the last report from the year 2019, what we solve, and that's exactly what Peter was talking about yesterday, Josef, or tomorrow, Harchenko. And it's closely connected to the technique, to the vehicles that produce must develop, that must be renewed, and the development must not stop even in this field, even if the winters are almost the same. In the Czech Republic, I would start not with the spreaders themselves, but with the engines, with the vehicles. We are lucky that within past 10 years, I would say, we have made significant modernization of the fleets. You can see on below the marks, the world marks of the producers. It's perhaps the same in the whole Europe, and we are not an exception in this way. We are looking for effective and reliable cars, of course low cost, which is quite hard to find, as the service maintenance costs are getting higher and higher for us, as we are not able to make the self repairs as it was in the past. And on the other hand, for the drivers, the comfort has been improved radically. Of course, we have new technologies. We must do new things like the AdBlue tanks and so on. So this is very shortly, we are quite lucky that the investments came into the technique to winter service. And then there is another point that I would like to emphasize, which is, I would say, crucial for the future development in Europe. You may know that we have the European Green Deal, which is a big challenge. It's, I would say, a very tough challenge for all of us to reduce greenhouse gases, to become climate neutral until 2050. And one part of this deal is represented by the Agenda 55, which means reduce emissions by 55% to 2030 compared to the beginning of 90s. And there is the Euro 7 norm, emission norm, under the development, and it should be implemented in 2025. And as far as we know, the information now, it should practically bring end of conventional combustion engines. And the producers are now seeking for other possibilities of CNG, of electric or hydrogen electric powers. And definitely it's not so easy. And in our truck segment, it's very hard. And where is the biggest problem? Perhaps are the nitrogen oxides, where they should be reduced from the 80 to 30 micrograms per kilometer. And perhaps there is one solution where all these measures are combined, means the catalyst, the mild hybrid system, and the intelligent recuperation. We shall see, but definitely it will bring us quite a big challenge in our fleets to become or to fulfill these requirements. In the Czech Republic, we have a specific thing about the spreaders development. I got this map from my region where I live. We have the main roads, the motorways, and the first-class roads cleared with the de-icing materials. It's okay, but we have still a big amount of second or third class roads, which are the rural roads, with the abrasive materials, which is mostly the fraction 2 to 5, just aggregates. And we are quite hardly fighting with the environmental offices, as they don't allow us to use salt or any other de-icing materials, with the exception of potassium carbonate, which are used somewhere. And this is what our agency solves in the moment now. And of course, it's got something to do with the economic efficiency as well. I would divide the spreaders into two categories. Therefore, the icing spreaders, we have a better experience with foreign producers, which are the two ones on the left, and the abrasive spreaders, which we call inert in Czech, or the combined, are made in the Czech Republic. It's just the traditional history of this production. You can see on the right, this is a picture from the last night from where I live, how it looks like when you don't have de-icing materials allowed. And this is what we need to solve. But anyway, to do development, we are quite lucky that also to the Czech Republic, the practical of more brine using has come. So we have new fleets of spreaders with the enlarged brine tanks. As you can see here, it's the Danish producer Oprc. We have about 30 cars in the Czech Republic by now. And even in the local region, winter agencies, administrators, we buy these cars, and it's definitely a very good thing to use, especially on the more important roads. We know that it's better to use them on 3-axle vehicles, as the capacity is bigger. We have the spreaders are divided into two parts, just one for solid salt, and the second is for the brine, and the ratio is half and half usually. It can be even more of the brine, up to 6,000 liters. And they are very good with the working parameters, as you can see here. The spray width up to 11 meters is good for the motorways as well. There are two different parts of the jet or the spark system, and even more important for us is also the speed. We can use it up to 90 kilometers per hour. It was not so usual in the past. Brand dosage, it's quite clear. We have a good controllers for the drivers, so they really can check and control the measures of the brine and of the salt. So this is one of the things that we are quite lucky to bring to our roads. Anyway, generally we are focused on flexibility of the trucks. I mean, they must be used all over the year. One car must be able to carry different superstructures. I mean, the water tanks, so sweepers in summer, and of course these spreaders in winter, and the exchange of the bodies must be very fast, must be flexible. This is what we really need from the cars. I have a second part of my presentation is something different, and it's got something with Ukraine, which is my favorite country, and we have many friends there. It's come from a history, from our relations with especially the western Ukrainian regions. We have still good and official relationships there, and one thing that we do is that we instead of throwing our elder technique to the wrecking or somewhere else, so we send them to our friends to Ukraine, and they are quite lucky to have it, even although this is an older technique from the 90s or even the 80s. It's in a good condition. It's very robust, very easy to repair. You know, it's not very sophisticated, but on the other hand, each driver, or almost each driver, is able to repair it on the road. And we have this agreement that we can send them to our friends, and they use them there. I hope that they are still in service. This is the picture from 1918. This is me personally arranged this transport. This was on trains to the Michalovce station in the east of Slovakia, and then we went to Uzhgorod. It's quite complicated with the border, but finally it went all well, and the 6 cars, I hope, are in service there. We made some drivers training. I got for each car one my driver, and guys from Ukraine have come as well. It was a good meeting there. And these are pictures from the right one is from Khust, it's definite. The left one perhaps from Uzhgorod, I'm not sure, but they are in service there. Okay. And the same or similar thing has been done later from the South Bohemian region, 2 cars to Kolochava, which is again a town close to our history. And it's not about some gifts, but it's just I think friendship, and I'm glad to know people in Ukraine, and they are really good friends for us. And they come quite regularly, and I hope that it will go on. So I got we have 3 minutes after half past two, so I got the times okay. If any questions comes to me, I'm ready to answer. Anyway, thank you for your attention and wish you
Thank you, Julius.
rest
Thank
of
you.
of the seminar. Okay. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you, Julius. That
Welcome.
was an interesting presentation. We could see from the pictures that the cars that you transferred to Ukraine had the license plates from the region where Khust and Uzhhorod are. So hopefully,
Yeah,
still there.
perhaps.
Unfortunately, we don't have anybody from Khust or from Uzhhorod, but they could confirm that they're still using those.
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay, our next speaker is Ivan Fesenko, who will represent the Ukrainian major road construction company called RDS. And he will talk on Ukrainian practice in winter maintenance. Ivan, are you here? While we're waiting for Ivan Fesenko to join our conversation, I had a question.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Тут.
Зимове утримання експлуатація цементно-бетонних доріг в Україні.
Yes, my presentation is on winter service and operation on cement concrete roads in Ukraine. So winter service is the complex of works that's performed by road servicing organizations in order to provide ongoing operation of the road during the winter period. It's 24/7 operation of professional workers in cleaning of the roads in public places. I will not tell you about the whole scope of this actions. Our company is responsible for servicing in the winter of over 4,100 kilometers of roads, over 3,000 of employees in it's due to the program of the Great State Construction, the new cement and concrete roads were built. The calculations were done by Ukrainian institution to show that the cement and concrete roads turn out to be 40% more efficient comparing to the pavement with asphalt. On the 5th year of its operation, the roads with asphalt require first initial fixing, while the cement and concrete roads needs fixing only on the 20th year of its exploitation. So it's lighter during the winter time and has better traction, and so the braking distance is shorter. So we have new roads. So this is why we don't use the abrasive. We only use the saline solutions. We have recommendations by National Research Institute from 2019. However, they are very controversial. On the page 5, there's a description of anti-de-icers. It says that the icers can be used inhibit the chlorous anti-jelly materials. And the same page, we have the use of anti-icing materials. It says that the icers on the natrium sodium chloride base is prohibited for the first year of the road operation. So this is very contradictory, and it reminds us that Well, when you have a child born, you need to feed and train a child for the first 20 years. You cannot do it all in the last 20th year of its life. And so we need regulatory requirements and that will regulate the whole process. Another question I have is like we have issues related to additional tracks from the fields, from the road, additional roads that lead to the fields. So right now we have conflicts with different agricultural companies who take their produce from the dirt roads to M15, which is the motor road, and we spend a lot of time cleaning it from silt and dirt. And so I have issues with that. So I have questions for Ukravtodor and Ministry of Transportation. They need to insist on the farmers actually place the hard pavement for the dirt roads for the first 100 meters of the roads that lead into the fields. This will help to prevent the dirt going into the motor roads of national importance. This is very important for Ukraine in general. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Дякую, пане Іване. Thank you, Mr. Fisenko. Do we have any questions to the speakers? If not, then our next speaker is Vladyslav Demydenko from Autostrada Construction Company, and he will talk on best practices in winter maintenance from their experience point of view. Пане Владиславе, ми вас чуємо.
Доброго дня. Вітаю всіх учасників.
Good afternoon. Greetings to you, all of the participants of the seminar. Thank you very much for organizing parties to be able to share this very important question. I think this question is very important for all of us. So the main question for all of us is to create safe condition all around the year for safe travel on the roads. So this is done through capital construction, through renovations, through also maintenance for the winter and interseasonal times. So Autostrada is responsible for that. So we use the potential of our staff in our equipment. We're able to create more jobs and more capabilities. We currently work in 2 regions. Our park of machinery is more than 2,000 units. The company has completed the cycle of production. We have our own granite quarry, several plants across Ukraine. And so the key task that we have, the maintenance task, is to develop the conditions for the servicing and the traffic conditions. So the first experience of our winter maintenance we had on our local roads, and the local roads with intensity that is under 1,500 vehicles per day. So we had about 600 kilometers of roads. For the first stage of this process, we prepared for the winter maintenance. And so we had prepared the base, the materials of the icers, the machinery. And because we knew that the high quality result of the winter work will be dependent on the lack of defects of the roads, the well-trained roads, and well-planned shoulders and clean roads. yes, as the previous speaker has mentioned, that clean roads is an issue for Ukraine. So, so cleaning the dirt from the shoulders, from the roads, from the drainage, it was of big importance for us. So the winter time is usually characterized with less lights on the roads, and so this is why we renew and restore the signage on the roads, and we restore light reflecting elements on the road. We also take care of the passive snow protection of the roads, and also we take care of the passive de-icing procedures. What's important for us is the way we conduct our agreements, where any works that is performed by our company, they can be only within the technical expectations, the technical specifications in the contracts. But this is also related to the quality and effectiveness of works. So as we have analyzed our own experience in the previous company's experiences related to the roads that we are currently servicing, on average, we have found that in one winter, there's about 40 different cycles of road processing with de-icers and 5 cycles of intensive snow plowing. So this data is taking into consideration for the needs of salts and de-icers. So every year we also enlarge the capability, and we develop new technical base for storing capacities. So since our technical documentation that we use as regulatory documents for Ukraine conduct the requirement to have necessary materials by 1st of November. It has to be at 80% of capacity. Besides that, we also have detailed maps where we show our bases, the storage facilities, and number of machinery on availability of drivers. All of the drivers are being trained, and we are training our drivers even on what for our drivers to do in case of emergencies. So one of the emergencies that we had in the last 5 years is the dangerous snowfalls and blizzards where machinery was not able to cope, and we had a need to attract heavy machinery such as heavy graders and snow plows and loading equipment that was used to tow the cars stuck in the snow. In order to we have the staff monitoring the condition of the roads, motor roads, that is responsible for decision making. This is done 24/7. The geography and topography is very versatile. So for us, it's important to track the slopes that for our region, since the heavy machinery is not always able to, not always adhere to requirements on loads, and it's difficult for the heavy machinery to climb the hills and slopes in the summertime, even more so during the winter time. So we conduct close cooperation with police, with Directorate of State Service for Transportation, with carriers of goods. And it's very important for us in any case of adverse effects and weather conditions, we do the preventive treatment of the road that is able to stop the icing, ice building up on the roads. So the innovations that are used for by our organization, we were able to, over the recent 2 years, to implement. Well, first of all, is we have shifted to long-term agreements on maintenance. So beginning this year, we have been able to sign many long-term contracts, which helps us to develop both the staff and the capacities of the company. Secondly, in order to use the state funding better, or also based on our experience of maintenance of the roads, we see the effectiveness of passive preventive treatment. So meaning that we build additional trenches near the roads, parallel to the roads, on those parts of the road that are at the 0 point level, or with the slight slopes, since the topography is varies, and our roads last through like 1,300 kilometers. We analyzed particular parts of the road, and upon the intense snowfalls, we involve heavy machinery to build additional ditches for storing the snow that can be shoveled, can be plowed to the side. And so based on our experience of intensity of traffic, since we are using de-icing, it's salt inert materials, de-icers like salt and sand. This is what we see. We see that we have 8 hours to react and liquidate and de-ice the roads. So usually for 300 kilometers of the road, it means we need to have 5 trucks. However, the treatment of the pavement is not necessarily an equivalent of the good effect, where the intense in those roads where the intensity of traffic is very, very low, this is very inefficient. So we have increased the fleet of our machinery in order to shorten the time of reaction, and the reaction was made during the period of times where the intensity of traffic was growing and building up, so we could pre-treat the pavements and those portions of the road before the highest peak of intensity of the traffic. And we have our personal laboratory that is analyzing the de-icers. We try both salts and inert materials and mixes upon when it is prepared. Specifically, it is important for de-icers. We test them to attain the proper concentrations of inside of the mix. So then our actions of de-icing is maximized. Okay, of course, our goal is the result that we're trying to attain as we maintain the roads. So the result for us, good result for us is safe traffic. So we can use different technologies of de-icing, like saline solutions, chemical reagents, you can extend the time and effectiveness. However, we work within strict regulations, and the past capability to test new technologies are not that big. So one of the important factors for us is to make sure that our fleet is sufficient for proper performance. Currently, we have over 60 units for winter maintenance. All of our trucks are either by Ford or MAN trucks, and the icing agent spreaders are usually by Polish or Turkish manufacturing. Currently, we service international traffic routes and regional traffic routes. Those are the contracts that we have currently. Things that we would like to change or would like to see new in the system of winter maintenance revolves about two things. First of all is transition to longer-term contracts of winter maintenance, which will help us to plan with higher efficiency and effectiveness the work in the long-term horizon. When we understand the long-term horizon, we know how to buy machinery and modernize the storage bases and such. And the second thing is, for us, it would be nice to have implementation of build and maintain, where the road building company is responsible for maintaining that strip of road that it has built. I think for us, as we build the roads, we provide guarantee for the pavement, and we're really sure of the high quality of the pavement. However, if the maintenance is not done on a proper quality level, this will lead to lack of timely repairs because the company is not responsible for the road. So where the same company is responsible both for maintenance and for construction, this will improve the quality of roads, which will provide for higher convenience and safer traffic at any time of the year. So thank you for your attention. Please ask your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Vladyslav. That was very interesting. I see that we have many questions already submitted by the participants. Should I read them out loud? The first ones are to Julius. Julius, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there is a question to you regarding your presentation. You mentioned that the truck can move from 10 to 90 kilometers per hour when spreading these. What happens if it moves slower than 10 kilometers per hour? Is there a spillover of the chemicals?
This is just has something to do with the accuracy of the spreading. It means you have 11 meters bright communication, the motorway, and you wanna make each meter of the motorway to be with the brine or with the salt. So you can go even faster than this, but then it's not sure that the brine comes everywhere, if you understand me. Before we had these plates, these spreading plates, which were also accurate, but with the lower speeds. And if you go slower than the 90, it's okay. The system is so clever that it can work from, I would say, not 10, but 20, 30 kilometers on the normal speeds of a truck up to the 90 kilometers. and some sparks are even sharper or more accurate, and some are not. But this would be a question for the producer. So if it's okay, the answer.
I thought the answer was what happens if you go slower than 10
Yeah, it doesn't mind if you go slower. It's still the same amount of brine or salt, or like if you went 90 kilometers. It doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you. I hope that was satisfactory. The next question is also to you, and we want to know, how do you prepare the liquid mix? Do you have special equipment for that? What kind of equipment do you use?
No, this is the technology of pre-wetted salt. I mean, we use salt, and it's more you have the brine over it. So just, I think I would say, common pre-wetted technology, or you can use only the brine. As I believe yesterday, Josef Neuhold, or tomorrow, Mr. Horst Hanke from Germany, they are talking about it more precisely. I'm not such a professional in this mixing the technologies, but principally there are two parts of the spreader. One is for the salt, for the solid salt, and the second one is for the brine. And you make the salt covered with the brine, so it comes to the road, to the surface, how it should be. That's all. I don't know if the answer is satisfactory.
Well, thank you. Yeah. There's one more question. It would be interesting to compare the practice that you have in Czech Republic and maybe here, how it's done in Ukraine. And the question is how the de-icing and snow removal is done on bus stops, basically in the pockets.
It's not so easy. It's quite easy in the cities, or where you can use de-icing materials. Usually the bus stops are with a concrete pavement, and you can use a better amount of the salt or the brine, and you get rid of the snow. But if you have big amount of snow at one moment, in the higher positions like we are now, it's a bit complicated, and it's definitely it brings complications for the bus traffic. And they don't use the whole length of the platform, of the bus platform, and they just use 2 front doors, and that's all. If they have really 10, 20, 30 centimeters of snow at one moment.
Okay, there is people are thanking you for giving these old machines to Ukraine, and the Unite organization is willing to help. If you have any other spare trucks that you're willing to donate, we would be more than happy to assist you. Identify the the areas where it's mostly needed, and if anybody has any old trucks.
I have one reaction, yes, from Igor, and perhaps we will make some connection. I can ask all the agencies in the Czech Republic if they are willing to donate these old spreaders. I think we were the first, and there's no reason why there shouldn't be followers. So there are many old cars not used anymore in the Czech Republic, and they're really in a good state, in a good condition, and they are fully working. And really, it's a pity or it's a shame to send them to do wreck and yard, So why not? Okay.
Окей, а можемо почути від Владислава і
Can we
пана
hear the
Івана
comment from Vladyslav?
про вашу практику очищення автобусних зупинок і важких місць на дорогах?
We hear about your experience of clearing of the buses and the bus stations,
Stops.
bus stops.
Mhm.
Is that a question for me?
В тому числі, так.
Yes, among other people, please, please. The bus stops and any other stops on the road are cleared of the snow, and then they are spread with the de-icing agent.
Більших уже засипаних снігом, то вивозимо.
And that's all the work. And as far as everything else is concerned, the ones that are covered with snow, that there's more on the bus stops. Does that answer your question?
Well, це не моє питання, але дякую.
Well, the
дякую.
question is not mine, but thank you for your answer.
Владислав, ви зможете щось
Vladyslav, perhaps you
Вашої
can add
практики.
something too from your experience. As to the bus stops and public stops, naturally, we do clear them out. But again, the public stops are to greater degree, we're clearing but manually, and the clearing of the public bus stops happens after complete clearing of the actual road part. Usually there is a curb at the bus stops that is in the way of the dumping of the snow. And usually it is done through a loader or small loader that snow is just evacuated and taken away. The de-icing is also happening for the pavements and for the bus stop pavement, but it's not done by mechanisms. It is done manually because the machines can simply not reach those places.
Thank you. That was very informative. Thank you. There is a question that I can see in the table. Somebody submitted it regarding the organization that's responsible in Ukraine for setting the standards and other things. But I think in the second part of our session, we will deal with that. And so whoever is asking that question will get an answer later on. I can see that we are approaching a break in our presentation. Should we take a break now? Or do we have some more questions on the first topic?
Там ще є одне питання про Євро 5.
Yes, there's also one more question about Euro 5.
Sure. Give me a minute. Yeah. Okay, that's a question which concerns the vehicles that Julius told us about. I'm not sure, Julius, that you know the answer, but the question is, how did you solve the issue that these old vehicles were Euro 3 and Euro 4 standard? How were you able to import them into Ukraine since there is a requirement that these vehicles must be Euro 5?
This is what I'm not sure about. We just delivered them to Uzhgorod, and we don't solve any other papers administration concerning this. Don't know. Not sure. These are Euro 2 practically, which is most, yeah. These old cars. They are not definitely Euro 4 or 5.
And it was in 2018, so it was 3 years ago. Right?
Yeah, this what I was doing personally was in 2018. No, maybe it's not possible anymore because Ukraine has more strict administration or requirements. So I don't know. In Europe, we have Euro 6 or perhaps in the future Euro 7, which is very tough. And I believe this will come to Ukraine soon as well. So maybe this was the last time with these old cars, the exchange.
Yep. Okay, if I may ask people who are posting questions to indicate your name so we can get back to you in case there are some additional clarifications. Because some of the questions don't have the name of the person asking. Okay, so I suggest we break for a brief recess and let's meet back at 15 minutes past 3 Ukrainian time. So in 5 minutes then, is that okay? And we will continue with our second part. Okay, thank you all. See you in 5 minutes. Okay, so I think people should be getting back on after a short break. Can you please switch on your videos so we know you're here? I can see speakers from the second part of today's session joining us. But we still don't have any videos from most of the participants. So let's wait for a few more seconds. Okay. I still don't see Julius. His camera is switched off. Why don't, okay, we see you now so we can start. So we start a session, second part of our session, but before we move on to the OPRC contracts, there is one more question to Vladyslav from Autostrada company. Can we see Vladyslav? There is a question from the Cherkasky region in Ukraine. Pане Владиславе, я вже вас бачу. I can hear you now. And the question to Autostrada is, does your company plan to use saline mixtures during winter maintenance this year, mainly in Cherkasky region, Cherkasky Oblast?
Да, дуже гарне запитання. Дякую.
That's a very good question. Thank you for it, whoever's asking it. We don't mind using the saline mixtures. However, first and foremost, this needs to be provided under contractual obligations. There is a number of, within our pricing that we're governed by, there are some presuppositions for the application of this technology. Every year we are developing more and more, even with the equipment and any other supply and resources, and we're improving the technology. We are all for the use if it is provided under these obligations. We will only be for it.
Okay, great. The question was from Ruslan Hrebenyuk, just so you know. Great, thank you. And let's move on to our OPRC section, and our first speaker will be Ms. Anna Harchenko. She is professor with National Transportation University in Kyiv, Ukraine. I've seen Ms. Anna join us. So if you are ready, please.
Yes, thank you. And good afternoon, our foreign colleagues. But my speech will be in Ukrainian because there is a lot of terminology. So I will start.
Awesome.
Please.
Так, прошу вибачення, чи видно презентацію?
I apologize. Do you see the presentation? Yes, yes, we see
Can you
it
see
very
my
well. Thank you.
presentation? Yes, we see it
Very
very
good.
well. Thank you.
Therefore,
So
I represent,
present
as it was already mentioned,
as a
the
scientific school of
I represent the scientific school of the National Transport University, and we are working on the output and performance-based road contracts. We have been doing it for a while. We started these developments with 2008, and up to now, we are carrying out according to the delegation of the Ukrainian road agency, research in this sphere. I would say that the first prerequisite of having these type of contracts is adoption of the law of Ukraine on the motor roads, and also the concept of the reform of the state of automobile roads, which provides for long-term contracts. However, our research that was targeted at the implementation of this contract in particular proves that there exists much legislative barriers and a certain regulatory and technical document gaps that would be required for this type of contract. So therefore, we try to implement and correct our legislation, our secondary legislation, in order to bring about this type of contracts that our previous speakers were also all touching upon, which indeed shows that there is their experience of using them abroad that proves their effectiveness. In particular, the law of Ukraine on motor roads, Article 6, that was amended at the time, that says that these OPRC contracts can be implemented in Ukraine for up till 7 years of duration. That, of course, the number 7 was predated by certain research, which is the optimal duration of a contract. But the experience shows, as far as we studied, as far as we learned from the foreign experience of this type of contract, it says that even some of the OPRCs were drawn up for 15 years. Besides that, Article 6 says that our development of the motor roads is of priority for the state, and qualified engineers, consultants can be involved in independent audit, which is also a new development that is just beginning. And our pilot project that was implemented at an OPRC project, and my followers, the following speakers will be talking about it because they are direct participants of the project. And it speaks that this certain engineer independent oversight needs to be over this type of contract fulfillment. We can see that in the course of study of the foreign experience, the effectiveness, economic effectiveness of OPRCs can reach up to 40%. That's the average value for a cost saving that was seen in different countries when applying OPRCs. The distinct features of OPRC that are without a doubt, a positive experience in foreign countries is the following, that they are based on the standards and specifications. So those are requirements for remediation of defects in maintenance of roads, motor roads. And another very specific difference from our Ukrainian legislation is that the contractors' works are paid for the final results in the specification and not for any works or methods of their fulfillment. And besides that, there is also a system of penalty scores for failure to observe these requirements, which is observed by this independent engineer consultant. In the course of our study, the result was drawn as the development of, there were two state standards developed. This is the guidelines for the levels of maintenance during operational maintenance, where the principally new approach was developed. And there were also developed in other documents the levels of maintenance of roads. Besides that, this year also seen the development of recommendations for parameters of these long-term contracts. Also, our research team continues the study, and there are also issues that we would like to consider for the future. These are issues concerning directly the project of maintenance of roads, because it is completely different for the long-term planning from the one-year projects that we used to have and then we still have today. Main of the guidelines includes formulation of requirements for operational levels. There are models for substantiation as to how to evaluate them for the contract, analytical procedure for risk assessment, this overtime risk, also the use of the contractual levels for defect remediation, assessment model, and the main stages for the procedure of substantiation for the operational levels. There are two levels of maintenance that were determined according to the foreign experience and were included in the guideline. This is the normative level. This is the level of maintenance that is established in the standard, and the contractual. This is the level that is established in the TOR specification to the contract, which is principally new for Ukraine. The level of maintenance itself consists of 4 parameters. This is risk category, remediation season, level of intervention, and the reaction reaction time. The reaction time also has 3 different types. This is the contractual term, which is established in the contract, the normative, which is established in the standard, and the actual or factual that was established in the course of the fulfillment of the contract. The level of the road maintenance, according to the state standard guidelines, was established as the characteristic of a certain element or section or number of section or network of the road as a whole, as defined by the timeliness, completeness, and the quality of defect remediation. Since our acting regulatory framework provides for intervention methods as high, medium, and satisfactory, and also unsatisfactory, those were laid as the at the basis of the levels of maintenance. So the new state standards were based on our experience and experience of other countries, and were adapted to our legislative requirements. A new notion was introduced, the risk of the defect impact on the element of the road. So it is now determined for each element of the road. The priority for defect remediation are the following defects: the defects that impact the safety of traffic. Therefore, the state standards was based, the one that determines the levels of maintenance of motor roads was based on the main roads that determine the safety of traffic and vessel traffic, and also the defects that are determined through the evaluation of as hazard for the road. Also defect that impact the degradation speed that required to be remediated under the directive, which are for us are necessary, mandatory for remediation due to some ethical, moral issues, or something that deals with, for example, agricultural issues. Defects of the preventive remediation would prevent a serious degradation of the road, and defects that are considered inconvenient for the consumers. For us, this is also a principally new category, which in principle is already available in the foreign experience. As it was already said, the levels of motor roads maintenance were classified, which are under the levels of maintenance. And the main classification does not contradict our regulatory framework and is contained in the acting state standards and provisions in Ukraine. The level of maintenance assessment itself could not include and cannot be a subject of long-term OPRC or penalty scores. These are defects on the road sections where they're maintenance or repairs, so we take them outside of the project, and also they are funded separately. As well, the issues of bringing certain elements to their normative condition, which is not provided under the contract. And whenever the defect is in the process of remediation, although the reaction time has not matured yet. The procedure for substantiation for the level of maintenance was established, and this procedure has several stages. Now, one is analysis of current legislation and regulatory requirements as of the date of application that are included in the contractual sphere of the maintenance levels of. Second is the check of the excess of risks and clarification of level of maintenance. And third is the selection of technology or method of remediation. Fourth is establishment of the scope of remediation. 5, expert evaluation of annual scope of work. So we're taking this to the manual planet. 6, establishment of the cost of resources. 7, putting together the schedule for the works. And 8, determining the level of maintenance of the section. After that, we can plan the levels that will be in the OPRC, and OPRC can be fulfilled. This slide shows a fragment of classification of maintenance level, which is embedded in the state standards for motor roads that was implemented in 2020 in Ukraine. Parameters for the OPRCs under these state standards that were developed, adopted, and implemented. This is the full set, the composition and the length of section, the duration of the agreement, maintenance level, expected cost of procurement, daily fixed sum, sums for works that are going to be carried out once the OPRC is established, and the number of penalty scores for exceeding the deadlines under the OPRC, and also the cost of one penalty score that is applied for failure to fulfill to keep the level of the road. Therefore, the types of long-term agreements were established. This is a comprehensive OPRC that includes all of the scope of relations and specialized OPRCs, for example, for certain section or for certain element of a motor road. Also, the subject matter of OPRC were classified into two classes. First class is the section of one motor road or sections of several motor roads, and the which is the network approach, so to speak. Also, within the framework of the study this year, an identification model was developed that was applied in the sphere of Macro's Visual Studio in order to substantiate the levels of maintenance of motor roads and establish the penalty scores that could be applied for under the state standards that were adopted in Ukraine. And here we see that according to results of modeling, we can approximately forecast what are going to be these expenses, possible penalties, profits, and expenses, and according to the levels of maintenance. And the expert evaluation from the experience allows determining the level of requirements at certain sections by means of questioning the experts who were carrying out the works at this particular road section. Therefore, we carried out the modeling, and the results, we have 3 regulatory documents for our sphere of economics, and we plan for the future to work towards substantiation and the draft of OPRC according to the long-term principle that is based on the performance. Thank you for your attention. I am open to answering any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. You're right on time. For those of our listeners who are not familiar with Ukraine, let me just add that OPRC contracts are pretty rare and new to Ukraine. We only have one case of such contract being used by the Lviv Road Agency in western part of the country. And this contract has ended recently, and we are now in the process of prolonging it. But it is, to Ukrainian government, it is of utmost importance to set up the legal framework for these contracts to be implemented on a regular basis across the country on all types of roads. And if there are no questions, then let me pass the microphone to Stanisław Gvozdikov, who is Deputy Director of the Scientific Road Institute. This is the institution that deals with standards in the road sector, where it also provides research and all the relevant scientific work associated with roads and their maintenance. So please, Stanislav. Станіслав, ми бачимо презентацію, можна починати.
Stanislav, we see your presentation. Can you hear me? Hope you can hear me. Thank you. Well, dear colleagues, thank you very much for giving the opportunity to speak at this very important seminar. I would like to say I'm making a lot of notes, actually. I'm very pleased to see that the colleagues from other countries, many different countries, are sharing their leading ideas and best experiences on road maintenance approaches, infrastructure object maintenance during the winter time. Based on what I have heard both today and yesterday, my information will be a little bit different from what my colleagues had to say. I have prepared a short review of Ukrainian market related to the services of winter maintenance. and operational maintenance for the roads in Ukraine. So as I have analyzed the market in the system of procurement over the last 3 years through ProZorro, we see the general volume of contracts through ProZorro related to maintenance of the infrastructural objects. You see that in 2019, the contracts volumes of contracts stood at 2.9 billion hryvnia. In 2020, this number has practically doubled to 5.5 billion hryvnia over 300 contracts. And currently, you see the numbers today. The volume of contracts exceed 40 billion hryvnia. Although the number of contracts have declined to be at 274. So for the next year, the budget of our country has about 9 billion hryvnia for new contracts that, as my colleague Hanna Nikolaevna Harchenko has mentioned, for long-term contracts for up to 7 years of time. So me as a representative of state enterprise responsible for implementation of best practices in procurement in the road sector. So I am inviting foreign colleagues to the partnership, and I'm inviting you to participate in the procurement programs of Ukravtodor. Next slide, please. So this is, in a nutshell, the overview of the market of operational maintenance of the roads. I have told you the volumes of the market a little bit. The longer term contracts, we have heard about that with my colleagues. Yeah. So the most common contracts last for 3 years, but after implementation of several European standards, we will be able to establish contracts for up to 7 years long. And possibly we will use Oprc approach. So currently at the market, Ukravtodor and the road agency has over 5,000 kilometers of roads, 50,000 kilometers of roads, and the contract volume with 160 subcontractors has signed contracts of operational maintenance with volume of 48 billion hryvnia. So 14 of these companies have contracted with more than 1 billion each. So other companies have a lot of room to grow. And definitely there will be opportunities for new subcontracting companies entering our market. Together with my colleagues from the institute that I'm representing, we're responsible for implementation of European requirements. So we track what happens in international organizations who usually unite the best representatives of this area, companies like PIARC, World Bank, and Rodex. And so we're trying to implement at least something from the projects that we observe. Like one of them is Rodex, where our colleagues from Scandinavian countries, where our colleagues were able to obtain true savings of at about 34% for the infrastructure objects maintenance. So based on Ukrainian evaluations, I think Ukraine has the highest cost per kilometer of road maintenance. I think it's due to some historical factors, one of which is a very obvious one. It's worn infrastructure. You have seen the development of the infrastructure, road infrastructure. It was not financed whatsoever until 2020. So the next slide. Let me talk about the numbers here. And I will try to then share the information that can be interesting to foreign subcontractors in order to describe our market, both in natural figures and volumes, financial. Then I will be able to give the floor to my colleague, Leonid, and he will share the particular ideas that we have jointly developed that we would like to implement in our practice. So this third slide, it illustrates the condition of the bridges. The bridges are the most important objects of the infrastructure, of road infrastructure, because the bridge cannot be passed, bypassed. So from previous historical periods, we have a large number of infrastructure objects. Unfortunately, after the surveying of 50% of bridges by our institute, we came to conclusion that the majority of these objects are not worthy for use. So to say that Ukraine, when I said that Ukraine has the highest cost per kilometer of maintenance, this is a personal conclusion because many times we are irrationally use the available money from the budget only to be able to sustain and expand the service time of the highly degraded infrastructure objects. So let's go to the next slide. This slide contains information that I wish to share with my honorable colleagues whose ideas and recommendations will be noted and will be used in daily work, because we, Ministry of Infrastructure, has the task of greatest liberalization of the market, and so we need to promote for new players of road construction players to come to the market. We need to increase the competition capability of the infrastructure product. We need to implement the world renowned practices for complex infrastructure projects. So I'm talking about IPC plus F methods of work. So implementation of project implementation scheme and being implemented when you design, build, and operate. So using this golden rule book in the changes in the legislative base, everything that is related to practical, making these goals practically attainable, it will be very important for us. So as we talk about, together with my colleague, like previous speakers, you have heard about the achievement in the area of Oprc contracts. So for us to scale up this success, in order to scale up these successful cases, we need to have proper documentation of that contain information on current day condition of the infrastructure objects. This is very costly. We need to obtain like Raptor systems or Greenwood. So we have used a different approach. We have designated 300 million hryvnia related to information obtainment on the current condition of the infrastructure object. So with these passports of the roads, we can actually document the current condition of the object. Then it will be moved to a concession project, or project organizations will be using this data for future design development. So what will be the benefit for Ukravtodor? We will have the exhaustive database of the objects that we own, where we can use this information to prohibit non-targeted use of funds. We can minimize the corruption risks, as well as apply leading practices in maintenance of the road infrastructure, like the golden books, the silver books, because several objects we have implemented last year are using the yellow book, actually, requirements. So our know-how by Ukrainians, we have created the database as we were building the system of management of road assets based on mapping services. We have collected, together with our colleagues, very important information related to servicing station, road servicing stations. So we were, in order to prevent unlawful implementation of the contracts. So we have collected information on infrastructure of the maintenance objects. So we monitor the residues of reactants and de-icers by the subcontractors. We have mapped it. We have comprised the map of the portions of the roads, and so we have detailed the intervention for the contracting agents. So even for some other contractors, we have developed the maps for the procedures maps. So we also have paid for GPS trackers for some of the subcontractors. So in order to track their actual performed works, because currently we're just paying for regulation approved works. So Roman Commandant has mentioned about weight and motion systems. So we use the maps and cameras that belong to police, video cameras, all located on the road, in order to track the infrastructure object conditions. So as we have collected all of this information, I'll be able to share the pictures of our processing center where people are working right now. So right now it's very hot because for the days it's snowing in Ukraine. So let me wrap it up. In Ukraine, we have centers with big screens that help us to visualize important current information. Right now, we are in the process of filling with instruments our service and programs and technical complexes with the necessary data that will help us to track the situation. I have seen several questions from my colleagues in the chat, whether Ukraine has organizations related to testing different DE-ICER materials. Yes, our institute by Shugi is Department of National Road Agency. And so we are performing this function. We have laboratories. Some of them are very unique for Ukraine in general. And so we document the order of purchases and then we'll lay out the requirements for validation. And then we develop the necessary changes for regulatory legal base in order to comply with best European practices. I will be able to answer all your questions. And right now, let me change though to my a person who is a practitioner who will tell you about realities of Ukrainian road services, how some of the companies, besides maintaining road in proper conditions, they also making some money by cutting the trees that nearby, that grow nearby those roads and using the wood as wood for heating the schools at the territory of their communities. So I will leave the link in the chat. So if you have any ideas in partnering with the organization that will help you to penetrate Ukrainian market, our institute will be very interested in also studying your experience and expectations. Leonid, if you can change the last, change it to the last slide. Thank you, colleagues. And few more words by our colleagues. Thank you very much, though, for your attention. Of Judge.
Take away from this presentation is the fact that Ukraine has experienced explosive growth in road spending, both for new construction, for capital repair, and also for maintenance. As Stanislav have rightly described in his presentation, we can see the numbers and they're pretty impressive. And so whoever is interested in the Ukrainian market, Stanislav is the man to go to in terms of getting basic information about how things work, what standards are applied, and so forth. Okay, and we're approaching the next part of our session. And it will be about the existing Oprc contract and the experience that the government and the contractor have experienced with this contract. And we have the next two speakers will be Oleg Bereza, who heads the regional road agency in Lviv region in Western Ukraine. And he will talk about his experiences on the pilot project in Oprc contract from the government standpoint.
Доброго дня, колеги. Доброго дня, пане Марко. Радий вас вітати. Дуже вдячний, що ви запросили мене.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, Mr. Marko. Thank you for inviting us to this conference. Let me share some experience regarding such contracts. It was very important. This was one of the first contracts for Ukraine. It was one of the first ones on servicing of private companies servicing the roads in Ukraine. So in 2014, when it was signed, it was previously it was all in the state company, which was a monopoly. So for us, it was very important to see the opportunities to both combine the way it is happening in the private sector and where the private company is able to do managerial decisions, come to managerial decisions quicker, and how the road after construction, how long it will last after the road maintenance is completed. So in 2014, from Lviv and Rivne border to Stry, we had 0 serious changes. And so this road, based on this just protocol of servicing that was enacted to implement this contract, we were able to maintain this road. And I believe it will be serviced until those changes with regard to M06 road will be enacted. I think will still remain in a very good condition. So this part of the road, M06, it's one of the arteries both for Lviv region and for Ukraine in general, since it is connecting the utmost western borders and the center of Ukraine. For us, it was a high priority to keep this road because it's in well-serviced condition. Definitely, we had paid great attention to the challenges related to servicing. And so this contract of attracting a foreign company, including the engineering company, had actually turned out to be a very fruitful company. So currently it is still one of the best examples of good servicing in Ukraine, but because the number of the safety devices implemented, lighting devices implemented, and safety procedures implemented has actually invested into these good conditions of the roads. And so this is also related to good technologies of surface treatment, including the correct servicing of these road sections that were related to additional treatment with regard to pothole treatment, and they paid positive results. So of course we had an engineering company. They were performing the technical supervision, and it was very important as well. So this was the third involved party that was helping the mutual responsibility of all parties. So the contract, so the client was like laying down the rules, and the engineer was actually supervising, and the maintenance was done by the contracting company. So it was very important for us to see what was happening with regard to payments. So the payments were evenly distributed, but the result had to be maintained on high levels. So the functions was very important for us to understand what are we aiming to achieve. So this is why the engineering company and their role was crucial. They were performing supervision, and then, if necessary, was actually penalizing the company. So therefore, we obtained a very good result, regardless of the weather conditions. We had sometimes even in preventive ways, we had performed measures necessary to maintain the road at a good condition. It was specifically related to winter maintenance, because the region of this region of the country is very susceptible to changes of weather where from Carpathian we have different abrupt weather changes, and so it has played very big importance. So fines was one of the instruments to control the contracting company, because they knew that the fines can be very severe to the times when you will refrain from payment. It's a very different approach from what is used today. So this was a process of bilateral implementation of different actions according to current day contracts. So contractor was able to see whenever he's not fulfilling his part of the contract, the future actions will be enacted. So for currently, I think the practice of long-term contracts will be very important. And for the future, we would like to use these contracts in servicing, in operational servicing of the roads, because this will help specifically the contracting organization to build long-term plans for procurement of equipment, new machinery, in order to be able to maintain the high quality of services for the road. And also implementation of these contracts was largely a push toward changes in the state standards that we see today. This practice is implemented, and we envision a good example for the future. You know, the Lviv region is in the news right now, so and I hope we'll have the project of concession remodeling of a portion of the road from Krakivets to Brody to Rivne. And so for the long-term contracts like these, I think we were able to show very serious good results that can serve as a good example for the rest of the country. And for me personally, my opinion is that these contracts as an instrument can be used and should be used for longer sections of the road, where through the whole length of international road strips from Kiev to Chop, for instance, where a single contractor is responsible for the condition of this road. So both such contractor has good understanding of the future development for his company, and vision and understanding of how he can implement new technologies and new machinery, etc. So Lviv is very happy actually to participate, was very happy to participate in this experiment, implementation of this new projects, of these new contracts of types. And we will be happy to participate in the future to implement innovative ideas in order to perform proper maintenance and operation of safe roads.
Thank you for your presentation. You could hear the government's point of view on the Oprc, the pilot project in Western Ukraine. And now let's hear from the company that was a contractor to that Oprc contract, and it's a Ukrainian subsidiary of Turkish company Onur. And we have Tolga Tarimer, who will be our next speaker, and who will talk about his experiences on that contract.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for opportunity to talk with you, to present for my presentation for you.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you're on.
Okay. Could you see my presentation?
Yep. Yes, we can see it very well.
Okay. Output and performance-based road contract in Lviv region. It's a hybrid and pilot project in Ukraine and Lviv region carried out by Onur Group company. Oprc is a new approach to the management of the road maintenance. Output and performance-based contracting for roads is designed to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of road asset management and maintenance. It should ensure that the physical condition of the road is adequate over the entire period of contract, winter and summer period. Oprc contracts differ significantly from usual contracts that have been traditionally used to maintain roads. The basic difference is that under the Oprc contract, most of the payments to be made to the contractor are based on measured outputs. Outputs reflecting the target conditions of the roads. It's like with service levels. Service levels contain reaction time to defects and penalty points. Under the Oprc contracts, the contractor has a strong financial incentive to be efficient and effective whenever he undertakes the works. The main idea of the Oprc contract, contractor decide what to do, when to do, and where to do. It means contractor always inspect, always looking the road and decide what he will do the next day. If we can say the benefits of Oprc, it's the first is satisfy the needs of road users. Road users are really satisfied with Oprc contract because road was every day clean, winter and summertime, and without any defects. The second one is reduce the administrative effort for the road agency. It means we had internal quality management and consultant. The third party, and it's in the third party of contract is a consultant, is a representative of the employer. More stable funding for road maintenance. It's a really important thing for the contractors and road users and road agencies. Makes road maintenance a more attractive business for contractor. It is connected to funding, and it creates incentive for technical innovation. When you are working on the road for the maintenance, only the maintenance, you are looking for the decreasing the maintenance cost, because you have got the approximately monthly payment, and you are starting to thinking more technical innovations and higher cost efficiency. It is if you are making more if you are making the more rehabilitation works, the maintenance work cost is decreased. As you can see on the presentation, if if the rehabilitation works not good, management cost is really big. If the management cost, if the rehabilitation works is more than 60-70%, is management and maintenance cost is really low cost. Let me talking about service levels and specification. Specifications included in contract describe a level of service expected for the road. Road should be worked, is our main idea. Level of service defined in terms of usability, travel speeds, road surface conditions, safety features, roadside assistance, etc. Contractor has to ensure that road users get a certain level of service. Service levels are set for following: road open to traffic, emergency incident response. Every accident, contractor going to accident site and making all works what need. Road pavement, unpaved shoulders, drainage system, road signs, road marking, road safety barriers, highway lighting, traffic lights, landscaping, cleanness of surface, bus stops and road toilets, structures. If you can see the presentation, the worldwide results, for example, Norway, cost savings about 20-40% for the maintenance of roads. And for example, Finland, Holland, and more than 30% of cost saving. The second part of my presentation is practical application of Oprc contract in Ukraine. This is it's highway MO6 Broadest 3 section. The pilot application of contract, the road length 187.3 kilometers. The contract duration is 84 months, 7 years. Our employer, State Road Agency of Ukraine, Ukravtodor and Ukrdor Invest, contractor Onur Group, and our supervision consultant, Aegis International from France. Finance party is EBRD. Contract signed 15 of August 2014, and contract commencement date and contract already finished at the date of 10th of September. I'm sorry, contract commencement date is 10th of September and 2014, and contract finished 2021. As you can see the map, we had about 200 kilometers, and we decided to make every 30 kilometers one compound. We had 7 compounds on the highway, placed about every 30 kilometers. It is really usable for winter and summer maintenance. During our contract period, we made for rehabilitation and improvement works. It's, for example, replacement of road signs. We replaced all of the road signs, surface marking with cold plastic, new plastic delineators, installation and repair of safety barriers, general clearance, surface repair of concrete structures, protective coating of concrete structures, linear crack sealing, rehabilitation of special section 1 and special section 2. It's that they were included in contract. New road lighting section in 27 inhabited location. Installation and repair of curbstones, installation and repair of drainage system, movement joints, arrangement of road weather station, arrangement of vehicle waiting station, and elimination of black spot areas. If you are talking about the maintenance criteria, first is road user's comfort. A certain level of user comfort must be assured in the maintenance roads. They are road pavement, free of pothole, rutting, patching, and other deformation. Unpaved shoulders, free of pothole, rutting, depressions, etc. Highway lighting, cleanness of surface, free of debris and hazard. Bus stops and road toilets, shelters and waiting areas intact, clean and free from graffiti or something like paintings. The first and second year of our contract, we made a lot of improvements and rehabilitation works. It's a crack sealing works. It's a patch repairing. It is a slurry seal, microsurfing pavement, microsurfing. It is really a new technology, not new technology, but the MO6. It's the first place where we did it, macro with special techniques and special technicals. You can see the road before and after. The right side of the road is with slurry seal and the left side without. And also, I want to add road pavement skid resistance. We made skid resistant measurement every year, 2 times a year. After this skid resistance measurement, we decide where we will do the improvement rehabilitation works or with slurry seal works with pavement. As you can see, it's the special equipment for the skid resistant measurement. All of the unpaved shoulders without pothole. Highway lighting. Cleaning of surfaces. Cleanings of surfaces. It's these photographs are after winter maintenance. Retaining material of roads. All of the retaining material we cleaned from the roads. And also it's a little bit different photograph of our works. All of the toilets in bus from the bus stops, all of them periodically clean. Also bus stops repairment, surface concrete surface repairment, And the second criteria, traffic safety. Road marking, traffic signs, as you know, they must be visible and without damages, safety barriers without damages, free of damages, traffic lights, emergency incident response. After every accident, we engaged with the police and ambulance and road users calling us. We set up the temporary traffic management scheme, secure the site, and sometimes we were faster than the police and ambulance. Road marking works. It's also demarking, safety barriers after accidents, pedestrian safety barriers, traffic lights, and emergency incident response. Every accident, we made reports. We report to our employer. All of the accidents in our collected, and every month we share our report to the employer. After accidents, we clean the accidents area. And you can see every accident we should react. And daily emergency inspection. 24 hours, 7 days, 24 hours, our teams were on the road, and their daily routine inspected the road, and our call center reported to police and employer if something happened on the road. And third criteria is the durability of the road. Landscaping areas and vegetations along the road. For example, grass high in our contract, according to places, more than 25 centimeter or more than 50 centimeter is not allowed. If more than 25 centimeter grass high, we should cut it. If we not cut it, we punish it. And drainage and culverts free from damages. Structures, bearings are complete, intact, and lubricated. Expansion joints must be present, intact, and clean. Concrete elements free of cracks and damages. As you can see, in our Lviv region, the grass is growing very high speed, but every day we cut these grasses and keep them less than 25 centimeters. Special technicals, we included our works. Little minor tractors, little equipment, attachments, special attachments, cranes for the cutting the emergency trees. Collecting the rubbish every day, routinely we collected the rubbish from the roads. And I can say I can tell you about this one. It's a hogweed. Hogweed is a really dangerous and poison vegetation. We work with them because in the Lviv region, hogweed is really growing a lot. We bought special equipment, special chemicals, and every year, the season, the beginning of the season, when they are not growing a lot, we pour this special chemical and we work with them. Drainage and culverts. If something happens on the drainage, we renew all of the structure. Repairment, cleaning. Also with the all of the bridges, monthly, every month we inspected the bridges for the defect collection or the defect decision, for the defects, and if any defects, we suddenly fastly liquidated the defects. And we include some other technicals also for our works, because there's a train rails, expansion joints, and criterion for winter maintenance. Carriageway, other traffic lanes and side roads, footways and pedestrian zones. Carriageway without snow, snow slid, snow slush or ice in 2 hours after the precipitation stops, and other traffic lanes and side roads in 4 hours after precipitation stops. Our machinery, you can see the photos. We had almost 72 pieces of machinery in these 200 kilometers of roads, and 196 people. It was a question about the bus stops. I want to answer it. All of the bus stops manual cleaning, because our manual cleaning of with tractors, and included with the pedestrian ways. All of them cleaned with manual. After winter, after the snow, with the tractors, all of the carriageways and traffic lines and side roads. As you can see on the photos, all of the bus stops cleaning with the people manual. Pedestrian zones, footways, all of them manual cleaning. And with the brushes, of course, small technicals. And also we cleaned all of the drainage systems after the snow. because if we don't clean the drainage system, all of the water will be collecting, and it will be dangerous for the road users.
Olga, you're running a little over the time limit. Can we please wrap it up? So because we have some
management information system is finishing. Management information system is our system that daily inspection, the defects decision, and after that, if the defects, opening the NCR. NCR is automatically calculating, and after that, if we are not close the NCR, we punished. Every points is it of one of the defects. Opening the NCR and opening and closing NCR. And the call center, we had 24 hours and 7. In addition, our contract, we had to do environmental seminars, were traffic seminars and HIV/AIDS seminars. We in the schools, in the residential places along the MOS highway with the national police, traffic safety, with the seminar. Every month we did one seminar in the schools. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tolga. It was a great presentation with lots of details, lots of pictures that show your daily work. As an end user, using this section of the road many times, I can say that it's always been in good condition. There are some questions to you, and I also have a question. Since you monitoring all the accidents so closely, you must have better data than national police. How do you compare the accident rate before you've repaired this road and took on the PIARC contract, and after? Has there been any difference in accidents?
Accidents. You're talking the rate of accidents.
Yeah, traffic accidents. Before you've repaired and maintained the road, and after.
Every year we made inspection with the specialists, and national police, and every year we decide the black points. And as of today, we had only, if I'm not wrong, 2 or 3 black points in our road. Accidents were seasonally really high. As you know, when holiday season is really high, when the winter season really high, but before and after, I can say after the fest, after the cameras, that radar, after the radars, it's really decreased.
Okay, good.
Yes.
There is another question to you. Concerns how do you deal with maintaining forest, the tree lines along the road, and do you have any special program for cutting old trees, willow trees and other types of trees?
Of course, The first every season, we make road inspection with the Living Road Service and environmental departments and forestry departments. After that, we decide which trees are emergency situation. After that, Living Road Service gave us felix, and according to this felix, we include to our works forestry guys, forestry contractors, our subcontractors, and they cut these trees, these emergency trees.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. We have some additional questions, but let's finish with the presentations and then we can get back to the questions and answers after all the presentations are finished with. And let's hear from our engineers. Our last presentation from Oleg Zavisky, representing Aegis company, an engineering company. Oleg, are you here? Yeah, you are.
Алло. Чути мене? Доброго дня всім.
Yes, can you hear me? Oleg Zavisky is here. Yes, please. I'm very pleased for ability to participate in this seminar, and since our contract has ran out in September, we still have opportunity to report on it. So, Mr. Tolga, thank you very much for describing this contract in such a great detail. It will be very difficult to add anything, but I would like to emphasize your attention upon several parts of this contract, and also tell you about the role of consultant engineer. First, I was the vice head of this project, and after some changes, I was the head of the engineering consultant team, which I was responsible for over the last 4 years. And so, first of all, I would like to say that this contract was unusual for us since it is implemented in Ukraine for the first time. So it is a pilot project, but the essence of it is to present, right now we're presenting the results of our work. And so the payment is result-based. And so due to the fact that this was a pilot project and the practice of the world level is implemented for the first time in Ukraine, the third party was hired to transfer experience to Ukrainian side, to both the contractor, Oprc, and to the subcontractors partnering with us. So the whole work on the project was laid out in great detail. Yeah, the only thing I would like to mention that this approach was called hybrid approach. The part of the job described by the previous speaker was a preparatory job. For 6 months, we were preparing some of those sections of the road for its further operation, both in the winter and in summertime. So leading technologies, world technologies was used in the lighting, meteor stations constructions, and signage. Yeah. And then at the very last phase, the subcontractor moved to pure maintenance and just operation. Me as a engineer consultant in that phase, so what we have 3-party agreement, and my role was in general is to make sure that everything that was performed by the subcontractor was done according to the technical conditions laid out in the documents. So for the winter maintenance, there were two criteria, and even the fining of the subcontractor was performed as well. So for the winter maintenance, of course, and for winter winter operation, there's an operational plan. So the key document includes both a document, the technology and use of certified reagents, and also safety of traffic. So all these processes are actually monitored by the controlling body of the subcontractor. And so this is was different for the pilot project. So the contractor is checking himself and actually penalizing himself, and the consultant, the engineer, is actually performing the oversight, making sure that all documentation is fulfilled and completed correctly, and checking the requirements. So the system, both contractor and consultant and subcontractor and the client was fixing everything, all the deviations and all of the information in the united system. So information was you were not able to delete this information. So this has ensured the transparency of controlling functions. So for the winter maintenance and winter operation works, so there are two levels. One is the managerial level of operation, where the contractor is performing it based on documentation and filing reports on time. So high penalties are ensured, like at 2,000 euros per day, up to 5,000 euros per day, up until the moment when it's alleviated. And the second level of control is operational control. Some of the processes were described well in the previous presentation. The level, the operational conditions requirements were very high. That for a contract, for instance, the cleaning of the snow, according to our state standard, is up to 4 hours after precipitation has stopped. In our country, there's 2 hours. And so in the pilot contract, it was only provided only 1 hour of reaction to the icing, all the way until the end of the winter season. So the conditions for performance of the subcontractor were very strict. Since the payment was fixed, the subcontractor was interested to perform this in high quality and fast, regardless of the amount of machinery and materials used. So only this way, the subcontractor was able to ensure a high level of performance. So on my side, I would say that the demand was high. The general principle of this contract is the spread of risks and movement of risks from the client to subcontracting organization. However, the subcontractor can decide on the methods of cleaning, resources used. This has to be, however, certified according to Ukrainian legislation. So current day practice that we see and witness today is fairly positive. And the main thing that I see is that the most important criteria of evaluation is the evaluation by the users of the road. We had the 24/7 call center. Anyone who was going by this route can film the complaint or file a complaint or request for help, and this was result in a very timely manner. So these projects, I believe, are very livable, very successful. So this pilot project proves it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zavisky. We've concluded with the presentations for today, but we still have questions. And let me read them out. The first one is to Stanislav Gvozdikov from the Road Institute. And the question is, Stanislav, do you have any sustainable development goals or nature-based solutions which are relevant to winter road maintenance? Could you hear the question?
Марко, повторіть, будь ласка, питання. Связь.
Are there in your institute or in Ukraine any sustainable development goals or nature-based solutions which are relevant to winter road maintenance?
Смотрите, нашим институтом действительно...
Our institute truly has, as it is requested today, we have implemented the series of active regulations that imply use of scientifically based solutions for traffic on the snow-covered roads. So we are trying to scale up the project related to the passive snow protection. So since it's the most cost-efficient solution of winter maintenance, cleaning the snow is the most resource-heavy resolution of this issue. Is related to high costs, high impedance to the traffic. And so I would like to pass the floor to my colleague, my partner, who is together with my institute helping us through the state program that is currently being approved by Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine. So he will tell you how to resolve this issue of traffic on winter roads. Leonid Milezha, can you include us on these findings? Thank you very much. It was not planned. However, I think this project is worthy of your attention. We're working for this project for 3 years already. Can you see my presentation? Yes. Mr. Oleg, you have 3 minutes. So I'll try to make it quick. So we're talking about our roads, the condition of our roads, and the forest lines along the roads looks something like this. This is not our fault. Many of the trees are old and need to be removed. However, if we plant new trees, it will require for a lot of cost. So together with NUBIP, Road Institute and Scientific Institute, we have developed a model that will help us to decrease the snow load on the roads. So along the roads, we can plant paired rows of trees. So if we renew the forest lines that we used to do it before, it will be a very labor intense. Here it's all mechanized, so this is the way the roads look today, but we can provide on an ongoing basis the road shoulders to look something like this. So, but we need machinery. Down below you see the machinery that is able to cut the forestation, and then rotators that will dig and grind the soil 50 centimeters deep, and then you have the planting machine that plants about 15,000 plants per kilometer. So it's much more than according to the previous standards. Unfortunately, we cannot see the slides. So just please flip through the next. Can you see my slides? No, unfortunately. Hold on a second, let me share. Yes. So the machinery that I have told you about, I can leave my presentation in the shared folder. With regard to snow, together with the Institute, we have calculated that if we should create such vegetation rotationally planted, we will be able to cut. So you can see it here, the 2 lanes. We will be able to cut by the special machinery once every 2 years. So you will see both first high growing vegetation, then bushes, then a small vegetation. So every year we will have 3 lanes of like trees, bushes, and small plants. What will it provide for? Due to high compactness, about 70 centimeters apart. So we will see the shape of the snow like this. So this is very natural, very potent protection from the snow. We need to calculate the distance from the road, and these forestation will function like this. This plantations can work for 60 to 70 years, especially if we have big trees planted around the road. If the car hits one of those trees, there could be a lethal incident. And you see the existing forestation that we have practiced in actually planted for several years. You see the car accident. The car was almost unharmed because the cars grow no higher than 60 centimeters tall. With regard to scope of Ukraine, we have 50,000 state roads, 18,000 117,000 kilometers of local roads. If we at least plant like half of these roads with vegetation, we will be able to use the plans, the cut plans for energy purposes. This is the way it's going to work. Per kilometer of road a year, it will intake 200 tons of CO2 emissions from the kilometer of roads. So you cut the top of the trees, and these trees will regrow again, but you can use the trees for fuel. With regard to CO2 emissions, we have calculated that out of the 1,000 kilometers of roads, 80 tons of CO2 emissions per year can be compensated. This is a lot. Since Ukraine is part of Green Deal program, we are obligated to cut our CO2 emissions. So these trees, since every 3 years they're being cut totally and then regrow again, they will be able to process 3 to 5 times more CO2 than the older plants. So 10 kilometers of road, that means of village roads with the minimum width planted on both sides. This will be able to provide the school of 15,000 square meters, and it will be able to serve as fuel for a year for such a school. So this is energy trees.
Very interesting.
Thank you very much, Leonid. It's an interesting concept.
We are through with all the presentations, but we still have some questions. So if I may, there is one more question in our chat, and it's addressed to Mr. Tolga and the Nur company. The question is from Kharkiv Regional Road Agency. What was the amount of equipment and vehicles which were used during the day on the whole section of that was covered by the Oprc contract?
For the dually inspection, it was 2 double cabin of Gazelle and 3 machine. 3 machine for the engineers and 2 the double cabin Gazelle for the workers. They worked only for the accidents and daily inspection.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers the question. The next question that we have is to Stanislav Gvozdikov, and the question is about WIM complexes, weigh in motion complexes that Ukravtodor has been installing during the last several years. Have you seen any effect of that program, and what was that effect?
Однозначно позитивное.
Definitely positive influence was made by the factor of implementation of these weighing in motion complexes. The positive effect is can be described in the following numbers: 30% by the day of implementation, 30% decrease of violations on overloads related to oversized vehicles. So the traffic has not changed at all, and the intensity of traffic has not changed. However, the weight of the individual vehicles had. And so the second positive influence, the leadership of Ukravtodor has implemented this decision on application of alternative systems related to control of traffic via the bridges. So weight in motion systems on the bridges. So these weight in motion systems are cheaper and they cannot be driven around. And so the third positive point that we see, the system is developing and 100 more weighing complexes will be launched. And I believe the local governments and local authorities will actually follow this successful case, and local roads will actually have municipal weight control stations.
There is also a follow-up to that question regarding who fines, who makes the fine, the penalty, basically, who implements the penalty as of now. Is it with the road police or is it still with Transbezpeka, the road Safety Agency?
Сейчас
Currently, the penalizing is responsible. The Ukrainian Transportation Inspection. This is responsible for this. So this organization is licensing transportation services and provides control of the license conditions for business subjects. And it has monopoly rights to fine the participants for overweight. So this is subordinated to Ministry of Infrastructure. Minister of Infrastructure is responsible for this structure.
Okay, thank you. That was a question from our Ukrainian viewers. One more question to you, Stanislav, about figures and numbers that you've used in your presentation. You mentioned that the budget for the road repair and construction was 120 billion Ukrainian hryvnias for the next year, which includes 48 billion for road maintenance. Is this a true? Are these figures true, or have you made a mistake?
Спасибо за вопрос.
Thank you very much for this question. Apparently, I have attained my goal to create an interest among our participants. So let me report on this. I'm absolutely correct. This is not a mistake. 41 billion. You can see the slide in your presentations. So this is the volume of the current contracts related to road maintenance today in one way or the other. So this is taken from PROZORO system, the unified module of procurement used for all the budget funded procurements. So all the contracts, road maintaining contracts have the term anywhere from 3 to 7 years. Yes, this is very good. So based on today's condition, the numbers are actually 40.2 billion of hryvnia of valid contracts for maintenance contracts. So if everything goes well, this number will be at least 49.2 billion hryvnia. For those of you who want more details, please contact me via telephone or LinkedIn. You can send me your questions and I can tell you how to retrieve this information from public sources.
Thank you, Stanislav. We have no more questions in our table. If there are any from the participants at the moment, there is still 1 minute. If there are no questions, then I suggest that we wrap up for today. We still have an active day scheduled for tomorrow. Thank you all for participation and see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
До свидания.
Thank you all.
Goodbye. Have a good day.